Okay, here I've got out the Daisy 953. This particular rifle here does not have the Lothar Walther barrel, but very, very impressive for what barrel they give you. Um, Also, the scope I have on there, that's a BSA, that's a 6 to 24 by 40, and it's adjustable objective, adjustable magnification, obviously. And the parallax setting on this is 10 yards. And the turrets are 1/8 minute of angle at 100 yards. And I want to show you how accurate this rifle is with my bench setup here. I have 15 yards indoors. And a lot of people were asking just how good can you get the Daisy 953? I've got some samples here for you that I shot to show you just what it can do. But another thing you guys have to realize, this rifle was selling online for $100, but it kind of disappeared. Great rifle. I don't know who bought them all up or if they stopped production. They probably stopped production. So what you want to do is you want to get the other Daisy target rifles that are available. Now you'll probably have to pay $300 or more. But them ones have the Lothar Walther barrel. But sometimes the Lothar Walther barrels and the standard barrel like this one has on, if you learn how to use your trigger properly and you have the right setup, you can pretty much go toe-to-toe with the Lothar Walther barrel. Although I would favor the Lothar Walther barrel. So let me show you some samples of what I did. This here is Foamboard. You can get this at Walmart. You can get big giant sheets, several feet across, for like $1 or $2. And the good thing about Foamboard is when you shoot Foamboard, it shows you exactly where the pellets are going instead of tearing so much. So at 15 yards, the 7-grain R10 pellet that I was using, made by RWS, for 3 shots, you can see 6X at 6 power. So 3 shots basically pretty much in the same hole. And then down below that you'll see 3 shots, that's 24X. So no matter where you adjust the power, you can still get some really great accuracy even if you have lower power. Now the one that took the longest was the 24X, and I'll tell you why. Because you can see more of the target, so you're less likely to pull the trigger because you're hesitating. When you're aiming with 24X at very close distances, you'll notice this. A little bit of movement like this. Where when you aim with 6X, it's like this. Perfectly steady. So the more you magnify the target, the more you're going to see stuff sway like this. And what that does is that, once again, that makes you hesitate to take the shot. So what I recommend for people is if you're having hard times taking shots, reduce your magnification. You can still be just as accurate. You don't necessarily have to have 24X. You might not even need 12 at longer ranges. You just have to test your scope and see what it'll do. So this is a sample of the R10 pellet, and I'm going to show you them right here. Now, here's the thing, the good news about these. These were the kind that were actually in the can, not the box. They sell them individually in the box. But these ones are the can version, and they say that the box ones, according to RWS, are better because they have more quality control, whereas the can ones can jiggle around a lot. And but it didn't seem to bother these too much because of the fact that when RWS made the R10 pellet, what they did is they strengthened the skirt of the pellet. So even though it's 7 grains, what they did, let me focus my camera a little better here. Put my hand on there for a few seconds. So what they did with the RWS R10 pellet is they strengthened the skirt part of the pellet back here, and they put more material on the skirt. So that way, there we go, now we got focus. See how thick that is? So they reduced the weight, but they didn't reduce the weight in the skirt. So you can see the skirt is very thick. So what that does is that protects the pellet from being dinged up. So anyway, There's the R10 pellet, 7 grain. Very good pellet. I've shot thousands of these pellets and they've worked out great for me. So I did another experiment. I took a pellet, the same 2 pellets here. I took 1 pellet, put it on the ground, 15 yards on the carpet. And what I did is I shot it. And look what happened. It stuck on the one that I was shooting. And it's almost perfectly dead center there too. So between this pellet right here and this right here, if you do things the right way, these youth target rifles are extremely accurate. Now somebody would say, well, I shot mine at 75 yards and I was getting terrible groups or something like that. Well, one thing you have to realize is that this is a low velocity rifle. And it's only going to have its prime accuracy within 0 to probably 25 yards. One of the things you have to realize too is that when a pellet loses velocity, it loses accuracy too. So this isn't really meant to get out and reach at long distances. However, it can have some accuracy at longer distances if your scope's able to adjust, like on the height of the turret. But that'll be something to test. And you got wind and different factors like that. But the thing is that a low velocity rifle isn't really meant for long range. It's meant for precision shots at close range. And very, very precise shots at close range. This rifle is for 10 yards and we're shooting it at 15. So you could tell at 10 yards if there's somebody doing sitting, standing, kneeling, and prone positions with this rifle, that this proves alone that you have plenty of accuracy, and what you need to do is you need to find out what you're doing wrong, not the rifle. So the rifle's always already proven that it's doing the right thing. It's the person that's doing stuff wrong. Pulling the trigger the wrong way. It could be a lot of different things. Sometimes not even oiling the pad here. You want to oil this pad every, I'd say 1 drop every 50 to 100 rounds. Make sure you maintain it. Oil that pad. So that's the accuracy report on this rifle. And any of the other Daisy models, target rifles, I'm sure they're plenty accurate too. Somebody was wondering what my bench setup is like, and I'm going to take a tape measure here. And I'm going to show you what I like to do. I got a pistol vise here instead of a rifle vise. So what I got here is a pistol vise, and what I do is I put the furthest part of the stock right here on the rest. And this is a seat cushion. It's 17 by 17 across, so 17 by 17. And it has a little bit of foam underneath here. And the dimension coming up is from here to here is 5 inches. And then what you want to do is, if you're making this out of a board, you want to put a foam cushion here too. And then you could put a blanket over it like I did. This is a fleece blanket from Walmart. And I put this over here. And I want to show you how the rifle shoots accurately with the setup that I have here. The most important thing is not moving, and this table does move. If you bump it a little bit, you can see it rocks back and forth. So when you're taking your shot, you want to allow all that vibration to get out of the table, and you want to put heavy weights on the end of the table, like out on the end here. You want to put weights on there, or sandbags or whatever, real heavy. Keep the table from wobbling. Anyway, the accuracy for this bench rest setup right here is on this blanket here. You'll notice that the rifle has the ability to kind of sit in, but it's soft, so it's not real hard. So it can kind of nest itself right along here. And what that does is that keeps the rifle absolutely perfectly still. So when you're taking your shot, when you put the crosshairs on your target, what I like to do is take your hand off the rifle and pull and just pull your eye back, look inside the scope and see if you're on target with the rifle just sitting like this. Then slowly come in and grab the trigger. So that way, you've gotten all the play out of the rifle from wanting to go up, down, sideways, or whatever. So anyway, this is kind of like what I have to offer you guys as far as showing you just how accurate some of these rifles can get. And I've done a lot of research on accuracy where I do trial and error, and I just keep doing it over and over again, firing thousands of rounds, trying to find out why some air rifles aren't accurate. And I've made some pretty cool discoveries about things. Sometimes it's just simple things that people do wrong that make the air gun inaccurate. Like I was telling you before, not oiling the pad. I know people that have pump ups and, for 5-6 months down the road, they're still pumping the rifle, but they're not oiling it. You have to maintain that. You have to oil it. As far as cleaning the barrel, this one works with this kind of accuracy that I'm getting. I haven't cleaned this barrel in probably 500-600 rounds. Now, I don't recommend that, but with some pellets, you're going to find that it's going to want a little bit of a fouling in the barrel to work right. So, for instance, if I fired these 3 shots on a clean barrel, I might not get the same results, although I can try that sometime. But anyway, this is one way that I try to extract accuracy out of rifles, is I try to make sure the bench rest setup is perfectly stable, and it has to be comfortable, because if you're not comfortable while you're shooting and you're seeing a lot of movement in your scope when you have the crosshairs on the target, if you're not perfectly comfortable, you're not going to take the right shot. So you want to make sure you're comfortable. And the Daisy 953, to get these shots that I got here, the technique might be different for different people. You might be able to do it better another way. I'm not saying my way is always the best, but on these youth target rifles, what you want to do is take the slack out of the trigger as much as you can. And then instead of squeezing it slowly, you want to pull it quickly. That's what I did with this one. And a lot of people say, oh, don't jerk the trigger, don't pull it quick or whatever. But that's not always true. This is how I got these groups right here. So that was by pulling it quick. Now, if you pull it quick, you're going to pull it straight back, but you're going to keep steady. And you're going to kind of muscle the gun a little bit where you grab it really hard, because this isn't a spring piston rifle. This is a pneumatic. So you can choke up on it and hold it real strong while you pull that trigger back quickly. So take the slack out and then like that. That's all you need. You're good to go. If you pull the slack out and then go slow, 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 what happens, I think, with this one, I'm not sure, is the air valve in here. What happens is if you go too slow, I think some of the air leaks out prematurely, and then the rest of it catches up with the rest of the air. So what that does is that changes your velocity. And when your velocity changes, your shots are going to change on impact. So, but anyway, on this scope, what you have here is here's your 6 to 24 power adjustment right here. Here you have your windage. Here's your elevation, and on this side is your focus. This rifle here will focus down to 10 yards. On full magnification, 24. If you're shooting any closer, sometimes you'll have to drop the magnification to get a clear picture. So the parallax setting on this is 10 yards, which is very good, by the way, because that's the majority of your shooting you're going to be doing. And these turrets, to lock these, you push down on them to lock them. So you set them and then you push them down to lock them. And my mounts actually aren't that expensive either. These set of mounts are UTG high profile 11 millimeter mounts for the 1-inch tube. I got these for $10 on Pyramid Air. And you can see by the results that the mounts that I have no effect on how good my shots are. So you don't have to have expensive mounts. You have to have it tight, but you don't have to over tighten it, especially on these pumpers. You don't have to really tighten it down that much. But let me show you the reticle. Maybe we could take a peek in there and I can show you. I got the tag reticle. That's what I'm using. It's not my favorite. I like mil dot. But the BSA Contender, which is this scope, came with the tag reticle, and I'll show you what it looks like if I can here. Now this is going to take a while because you have to be perfectly centered. Okay, be patient with me. See if I can get it for you. Okay, there it is. They're little triangles. This is the tag reticle. And what you do at that triangle, what I do, is I use the top point of the triangle to aim at a small object. And what you saw with my shooting now is just center of the crosshairs is what I was using. And we got it set on 24 power now, I think. So let me back it off to 6 and show you what that looks like. Okay, see there's 6. See how much bigger or how much smaller that is? So you would think you would have to hold a little steadier, but not always true. 6 power worked just fine. And then once you have it zeroed in, obviously you want to make sure your turret is set at 0 for windage and elevation. If you switch a pellet and it drops on you and you want to bring it up to the crosshair, you can turn these turrets up or down. And then you can always go back to 0 to get that R10 pellet where you had it before. Here it is right here. Now, once again, look at the thick skirt on there. Let me clear and focus this camera here. It's got a thick skirt on it, so when they designed this, they said, we got to take weight out, but we can't take weight out of the skirt because it's going to dent, and that's what happens with light pellets is the skirts get real dented. See, there it is. There's a good picture of that thick skirt on the back. So even though it's a light pellet, it's very, very strong on its sides, allowing it to hold up to the jarring, of your tin that you carry your pellets in. Excellent pellet. These come pretty dang clean, so you don't have to wash them. And I haven't weighed these because I didn't feel a need to. And if you need some proof of that, why I don't need to weigh them, here's the proof right here. This came out of a tin can, not a cushioned container like with styrofoam, like the more expensive R10s. So the other ones are, I think, $40 for 500, or maybe 30 something for 500. But the tin can ones are, I think, $15.99 for 500. So I would go ahead and go for that if I were you guys. You don't need to, the cushion type ones. Some competition shooters use them, but after using these, thousands and thousands of rounds, I found that these are dead on where I want them. So, but anyway, thank you very much for watching the video. I probably went on too long about this, but give you a peek of my scope here. This is a wonderful scope. And for any of you feel like you need high magnification and you're worried, like, oh, I'm not getting accuracy, so I'm going to get a higher magnification scope. You're really wasting your money, because if this scope was 6 power alone, you could do a heck of a lot with this and still be accurate. So here's 6 power right here. Even if this was just 6 power, look what you're getting. So do you need a 24x scope? No. You know, if you're doing long, super long range, yeah, then you need a little bit more magnification, but this would work good out to 25 yards the way it is with just the 6. And if you want to go past 25, like say 30 yards, you'd use a 9, and then 40 yards, 12. 50 yards on up, you want to, you know, pretty much just go for it. 16, and then 24. But you can stretch out a scope that's 6x quite a ways and still get reasonable accuracy. The way you do the test is you do 2 powers at longer ranges, and you see which one gives you the best groupings. And you'll find sometimes at even longer ranges that they both work just as good. So anyway, thank you very much for watching the video, and this is the accuracy report on the Daisy 953. And a lot of you were asking questions like, you know, when these rifles come, they come with front and rear sights, but they're easy to take off, and you can see I've taken them off. The rear sight is taken off, and the front sight is taken off. You can see it comes off right here, and that allows you to keep the muzzle brake on. So the muzzle brake's on, and the sight goes right on this groove part right here. So that's what's good about these Daisy rifles, Daisy Avanti single shot rifles, is you can convert them real quickly. And they've already set it up so that you got a muzzle brake on there. And you can decide whether you want the sights, which go here and here, or you want the sights off and then put a wonderful scope on there. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, you guys.